Okay, I guess we're
We
here.
got a thing to do.
We're here to talk about stuff and things, and those stuff and things involve our book. Right, Bob?
Yes and no.
Oh.
Our topic is history, but and this is different history than is in our book. But our book also has a lot of history. So
Yeah. So between
if you're the kind of person that comes 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning to a history lecture, you should go buy our book.
yeah, this weekend is the premiere of Volume 3 of
Volumes
the.
1 and 2 on the screen. Volume 3 is out this weekend. We're premiering it here, and we still have copies for y'all.
So stop
Rocco
by
and
the-
I also have a book, but we didn't.
I have a book, but it's not suitable for sale.
It was
in
scribbled
mixed
last
company.
night on a napkin at the bar. It was excellent. I think we didn't prepare a slide.
So Onyx subscribes to it at the comic store, is what you're saying?
We think it's a hit.
I'm totally not Googling what popular characters hit public domain this year. Hold on.
Okay, take it, Jack.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great toss over. So, yes, I think we need to begin any such panel, right, with a little bit of taxonomy. I think it's important if we're going to discuss the history of the monster. What constitutes a monster? What is a monster? And as you see here, I think there's a couple of notations that I think you have a very great definition here. Some things I think that also need to be noted, and we know this from Bob, from some of our on the academic side of things too.
What is a monster? You point to me.
Right. Well, I'm just and the monster is Bob. And that this also is it's pre-written history, correct? It's part of like our folk tradition. The monster exists before a lot of written history begins or written literature from oral traditions. And I think one component that's been a reoccurring theme in a lot of panels is that monster itself derives from its Latin origins, monstrum, right? And and basically what it originally meant from the Latin, it invokes the idea that a monster is a warning from the divine. It is foretelling disaster, foretelling fear, foretelling danger. So the original idea of the word monster was that something is non-natural. If the divine creates the natural order, then the monster is a warning from the divine that something is non-natural, supernatural, if you will. So I think that's kind of like one of the first things that we should all kind of agree upon. I think that the monster is some sort of non-natural occurrence.
Exactly. You actually reminded me of a comedy bit that I was not relating to this at all to start with. So Lenny and Squiggy,
Oh, yes. Okay.
the kings that they were discussing a monster movie that they were going to make, and it was a deep, thoughtful movie. So it wasn't just a guy in a rubber suit killing people. And he says, "So what's the difference?" He says, "Well, one of the characters about halfway through goes, 'And I'm the monster.' And it turns out he was the whole time. Just you didn't know."
Right, but that's apt.
Was the monster's trait mixing milk and Pepsi? Because that's just horrible.
Oh no.
It's a milk conversation. What's that quick?
We're just doing deep cut Laverne and Shirley jokes for the rest of the day. That's all this is.
I think that raises
And
an
regret
important point.
falls over the audience for choosing this panel.
Okay,
But
so
that does raise an important point that we can talk about human monsters or supernatural monsters, and I think it's an important distinction to make because
That's right.
because at
we
this
all
point-
know the real monsters are always us anyway.
or-
But if we're talking about cinematic monsters, I think we need to skew toward the supernatural and that sort of original meaning.
And I
so that means that Jaws isn't a monster.
think Jaws is a monster.
And
Jaws-
while we're talking
Jaws
about
is-
that, though,
Quint thinks
Well,
so,
and
Bryan.
here's the other question is, okay, are we talking about supernatural specifically or just non-human?
yes. So that's where I was thinking, because going back to what Jack you've been saying, about it being an origin in as a warning, as a foretelling. If you think back to what as a religious practice, like what does religion mean to the early dawn of man? And it's practical. It's safeguarding. It is the howling of a wolf is in one sense it's a divine warning of the werewolf, but it's also a divine warning of don't get eaten by a wolf, asshole. There's wolves out there. Stay by the fire. Stay away from the wolves.
Tends to all boil down to don't go into the woods.
Yeah.
is
So
really-
there is also we gotta. I think that non-human can also extend to the bestial, to the not just the supernatural but the hypernatural. What is this table service?
So the cheap beer's not good enough for you?
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Pulls out his fucking coconut water.
Okay.
And one last distinction, I think, for our topic of discussion, too, is I think it's important to bear in mind that all monsters within that then literary or cinematic tradition are born out of our own cultural baggage and history and legacy, right? So in other words, what is a Western tradition monster is not the same about how monsters are with around the rest of the world. Very
There are
specifically
remarkable similarities, but there's also remarkable differences.
many differences.
Well, that-
yeah.
Human nature is human nature, and our
Lots of
psychology
people
is our
are afraid of
psychology.
being eaten by things with fangs. Like that
Yeah.
transcends
Yeah,
culture.
some of that.
And
yes, yes.
everyone has an idea of a ghost. Everyone
Well, I
has
was going to
some
say,
kind of a concept of a demon.
outside of American ghosts is a really interesting example because what we consider to be ghosts here are terrifying. You go to other countries and they're
Ancestors.
They're
That's right.
ancestors.
Exactly.
They're something to respect. They're friendly. Then you come to America and they eat you.
Exactly right.
Well, and yeah, again, not trying to sound like Carl Jung over here, but it keeps going back to those sorts of like, what are those core human anxieties? Like you were afraid of, being violently attacked. We're afraid of dying. We're afraid of, the afterlife. Like they all come back to these, these basic principles.
And another thing though is if you also term the monster in terms of like the other or as the foreign, then each country's own cultural, geopolitic also shapes into
Yeah.
how they are portrayed, and that's a difference. So our monsters, I would argue, are at least our own unique one for the purposes of this conversation generally.
I can agree with that.
And we'll let Jack talk about the first one because
I will just point out before we get into these that when we started doing this, I told Bryan to go back to Homer and the Odyssey and all of those, and he said, no, we're just doing movies.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Christopher Nolan, excuse me.
I did put a note, original inspirations from Gothic literature.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right. That's right.
I got my footnote. I got my footnote.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if we're looking from the cinematic tradition, right, we begin first with the silent era. Let's just begin with those. And I think an important distinction here to remember, too, does anyone know what prompted the first usage ever in literature, in the Western canon, of the word horror? Right? We're all here at a horror convention. When did this, in a time period, first occur in the written language? It was all post-World War I. Essentially, the modern horrors of the modernity of war, of the Great War, the sheer terror, decay, death, the scope,
The mass effects.
was one of the first times that horror and horrific began entering the lexicon to have its current meaning. Therefore, like the actual idea of of horror and the horrible derived out of the decay and violence of the war. It's the first time bodies were seen like that, strewn about in pieces, right? And so mustard gas attacks, think in those terms. And so we had to actually create a word about it. And that's what actually birthed a lot of the first monsters in this silent era. Did anyone see, obviously, the newest incarnation of Nosferatu by Robert Eggers?
It was so good.
Very good. But also, this is a Nosferatu that returns to the idea of plague and decay and rotting, right? Those are these early monsters based off of this post-World War I experience. So our earliest monsters are very much plague-ridden, decaying as a major theme. Deformed, right?
Well, and like some of the footnotes here, it forced practical effects. We had to make the monsters. So monster and creature effects, this is where it started.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a good point.
And Lon Chaney was really the great granddaddy of all of that.
In many ways, although extra credit to Milius.
Yeah.
He invented it, and then Chaney perfected it.
That's
Well,
true.
it's also under this is definitely under the influence of our earliest forms under German Expressionism as well, right? This is what's bearing out our first, all monsters of that early silent era are expressionist.
Well, and speaking of Nosferatu, it also was the origins of the copyright complaint.
That's exactly right. That's
Thank
exactly
you,
right.
Stoker.
File off the serial numbers.
Exactly.
I'm just about to the audience. One thing I hope you take from a lot of these panels too is kind of like treat this as a recommendation syllabus, right? If you hear a lot of things, that's what I like to do. Listen to amazing people talk about films or books that I haven't heard about before. I have one to throw out to you that I've been enamored with. Write this down because it's wonderful. It is by W. Scott Poole, and it is called Wasteland: The Great War and the Origins of Modern Horror. I have just been fascinated by this book. So it's a wonderful read. I would just encourage that. Sorry, back to the.
I thought you were going to
Before we get
recommend our
back, I'll
book.
jump in with one extra recommendation whose author I've forgotten, but it's called On Monsters, and it's much more of a.
Yes,
it goes back more to the mythology and the literature.
Oh, of course, yes. I'm sorry. I wrote it down. Wasteland, The Great War, and the Origins of Modern Horror by W. Scott Poole. It's marvelous. Continue.
So we're going to talk about some classic people behind the scenes as we go through here. Let's see. Bob just invoked number one there, who is the great grandfather of the horror films, Shia of
The
Edison.
great grandfather of film. Let's be honest.
Shia of Edison. He's the first one.
Is he like the one that we credit with the term special effects? Like he
He-
was the one who debuted a lot of
he
it.
is
I
the
don't know
one-
about the term, but in terms of the
practice, if
practice
nothing
for
else.
sure. Yeah.
It's the notion. Well, even accidentally inventing so many different things, like the jump cuts and so many things just from his early experience.
Well, and I just did a recent exercise. I rewatched all of his surviving films that I could get my hands on, and there are some that, even knowing everything that we know of modern technology, I can't quite figure out how he did it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like even accidentally, he was the first one experimenting with like these large segments of film, and of course, film had a set period at that time, the chunks of how long it could record, and he would record segments. But it was actually during a funeral parade in Paris where he was recording a funeral procession, and the camera jammed, and he quickly tried to do it to catch the rest, and restarted filming, and it was only upon getting home he watched how the action jumped, and that was basically the birth of modern.
And then
editing.
he had trained as a magician and realized now he had a new tool in his.
Yeah,
his
this I was going to throw
repertoire.
back to you, Bob. I know that not only just like the father of it, the idea when you hear about how movies are magic comes from
It's
this.
because of
comes
him.
From him. It's from what he first recognized, the appeal to the audience of spectacle of what cinema could produce.
And then a spunky young boy and Chloe Grace Moretz taught him how to love again.
Taught him how to love again.
And we also have who is considered the first horror star, I guess.
Oh, I think yeah.
And it's part of our trivia contest that absolutely nobody knew who he was, and I was ashamed of everyone. Conrad Veidt, who was in The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And, I mean,
Man
that
who
was
laughed.
the man who laughed, exactly.
yeah.
He was in so many things, and to this day, a lot of people don't know who he was.
And again, all of these examples, German expressionist cinema, study that as well. Also born out of the necessity of World War I.
Absolutely. And then we have Lon Chaney, who we've already talked about, but he was, as they say, the man of 1,000 faces. He invented Hollywood makeup.
He invented Hollywood makeup, and that family carried it on. Even today,
They're still carrying
doing
it
it. Over 100 years, the Cheneys have been doing horror movies.
Yep. And you may have been in one with one of them.
I may have put on a werewolf mask and attacked one of them.
Okay. So in the 30s to the 40s, we introduced the Universal horror movies, which I think is where most people think it started.
That's certainly where it became.
That's where the mainstream.
It
latched
became
on.
refined and it became mainstream, and that's where people. That's the first that most non-horror nerds would start to recognize.
Well, on the next slide, I'm going to bring up who it was that we can blame on.
Well,
all of
it's
this.
also from Universal. It's also just uniquely American, right?
It is.
Most Americans were not able to see a lot of silent expressionist cinema.
And they wouldn't have known what to do with it anyway.
YouTube wasn't what it is now. back
Exactly.
It was very rudimentary in those days.
But it also gave us the beginnings of the crossovers and sequels.
I think I note too that I love about this too is within this time period, and we're going to kind of examine the reflections of our own society and culture by decade of what represents our monsters and our depictions. What I love about the 1930s is they're all still very human-sized monsters. Basically, it's just, and we don't have our large spectacles yet. We will approach them, and it bleeds into it a bit. But our
Human-sized
earliest
monsters.
ones, exactly. And to go by with Lon Chaney it's still the idea that they are just us, but slightly deformed or obscured in some way. So the makeup becomes, how can I disfigure a human being to represent the monster, or how can I obscure components to make it look non-human?
Absolutely.
But they're still human-sized.
So, and I forgot to put something on this. That's actually Carl Laemmle Jr., and he's the one that we can blame the Universal horror movies on. His father, who was running Universal,
Yeah, yeah.
did not want monster movies. He thought it was the worst idea in the world.
Take that, Dad.
But he gave a little creative control to his son and said, "Go make some movies." And he said, "Well, in that case, I'm going to go make monster movies." Thankfully, he did, because now we can watch all of these films that Dad did. He wanted nothing to do with.
And then Carl Laemmle IV was like, I'm going to show you all. I'm going to start the Dark Pictures universe. Me.
And here we have Elsa. The first,
legend.
I would say the first Scream Queen, but she screamed, so I'll count it.
Legendary iconography.
And one thing I've noticed this year, if you hit any of the Halloween stores, any Halloween sections, she is hot this year.
Making a comeback,
This is true.
rightfully.
So my partner, who is still upstairs sleeping off last night, one of their biggest pet peeves in the world is all of the little cutesy art you can find of her and the creature like in love and sipping tea, because watch the film. That's how that went down.
Yeah, we
Now I'm gonna counter that. Del Toro. That's how we got The Shape of Water, because he, as a child, went to see The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and he was having ice cream afterwards, and asked his parents, "So, did the creature and her like get together after this? Were they a couple? What's the deal?" Hence The Shape of Water.
Yes, Guillermo, eat your ice cream.
and all of those rabbits were safe in Watership Down. They lived
Exactly.
happily ever after.
And
Okay, Watership Down rabbits. I would thought you were going to Lenny for a second. I'm
because
like, how dark is this story getting?
This took a turn when the alcohol came. No, but Del Toro is always, literally every other year, claiming he's going to remake Watership Down.
Yep.
And give it the proper.
I'm
take.
still waiting for Mountains of Madness,
I
but that's
know,
not
I
his
know.
fault.
We'll see. We'll see.
So following up on Lon Chaney, we got Jack Pierce. Jack Pierce made almost, and we'll get into that later, all of the Universal monsters. He was the creative mind behind Frankenstein and the Mummy and the Werewolf and the Bride, and actually Elsa did her own hair though. That
No notes.
no,
Bow down.
Like for real though.
yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah. She actually
She's got reach.
She recommended that, yeah. So, let's move up to the atomic and sci-fi age, also known as the Godzilla era.
Yeah. And what do we note immediately as an audience about the nature of our monsters in this era? What do they become?
They get big.
They become big and they level cities. Reminiscent of what type of technology, I might wonder?
Godzilla?
The atomic bomb.
But also just not even the atomic bomb, but the wars
The war
as
in
a
general.
whole.
The
these
sheer,
massive effects.
again,
Yeah.
yet another war, World War II, is influencing our cultural zeitgeist about what constitutes horror and anxiety.
It's almost like humans have to make art to cope with trauma.
Exactly.
What?
Now, I will interject here and say the creature from the Black Lagoon isn't a giant creature that snows cities. So.
No, of course. I mean, there's bleeds.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
can definitely start seeing what becomes the impetus for some of our anxieties that become the monstrous at this era. Also, like just even the idea of like modernity and the fear of science, the fear of what science
Oh,
can do.
this was the beginning of the fear
Right.
of science.
Because it's like, oh, well, look at this progress. No, giant ants will eat my mom.
Exactly.
That's where we went with that. So it's always our reaction.
And we have to give a dishonorable mention to the greatest film ever, Robot Monster, 1953.
I demand an immediate
Yeah.
screening of Robot Monster.
The effects
In
budget
3D.
says we can't afford a spaceship. Do we have a bubble machine?
Exactly. Yeah, he's not even in the movie.
He just wants to be part of it.
I always forget the dinosaurs in that
Oh, yeah.
movie. Every time. That always takes me by surprise because I'm so distracted by this guy.
If you haven't seen this movie, drink up and watch it. Okay, so let's talk about some other people here.
Oh, yes.
I mean, up first we have Godzilla #1, who unfortunately we lost a few years back. Ray Harryhausen.
God. Love it.
He, honestly, Del Toro worships him too.
Of course. Absolutely.
Deservedly so.
Absolutely. If it was stop motion, he did it. The only thing he didn't do was Kong and Mighty Joe Young. but he assisted on Mighty Joe Young.
Not to date myself, which I'm about to do here, but I just remember how Clash of the Titans when I was a kid in the cinema just radically shaped my idea.
Well,
of
and
what
it's interesting
movies were.
because my home is a horror museum, and right in the middle of it is a golden owl out of
That's
that.
right. That's right.
I had to have him, and it's like that is not horror at all, and I don't care.
See, when I saw Clash of the Titans in the cinema as a kid, I was really disappointed. Like Liam Neeson just kind of phoned it in.
Shut up with your youth.
And the reason I was talking about Jack Pierce earlier doing some of it, she's finally starting to get some recognition. Millicent Patrick up here actually designed the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Which is your favorite monster?
Yeah, she is. Oh,
Unequivocally.
no, I have a house full of creature from the Black Lagoon. But it's interesting because for decades, everybody thought that Jack Pierce had built that thing. And finally, it comes out of the woodwork. Oh, no.
You mean a prominent woman in her field had her work stolen by a man?
Something like that.
That
Tell me
never
about
happened.
Watson and Crick.
Never happened.
Exactly.
Tell me about Big Eyes. I'll stop.
So, modern horror movies. And I did have to include Schlock because... and me and Jack were lucky enough to have a screening of that.
Yes, we were.
That is Rick Baker's first movie. But Shivers, another wonderful film with one of our guests in
Read
it.
that here yesterday. Did anybody catch that?
Jaws, which apparently may or may not be a horror movie.
Oh my God, this is so easily.
Don't make me break out the Cthulhu card again.
No, stop.
But the
I was
thing,
the only right person on that panel.
I love that you continue to think so, even though the masses have turned
Take
on
a
you.
drink every time Bob says he was the only right
Bob
person.
thinks he's right about
Take
something.
2 drinks every
He is
time
not.
Jack says taxonomy.
exactly. We're having a power crisis over here, but he's fixing it.
I'm just fueling it because I love to see it burn.
I just love
I
to watch
thought,
it all burn.
keep talking.
Oh, an actual power crisis?
Yeah. Oh,
I apologize to the audience.
Who gave us microphones? Whose idea was this?
You chose poorly this morning. Oh my God. Well, one thing. While we're killing time, one thing I think
we're killed.
All right. One thing I think is interesting too. Again, if we go by the idea about what each decade's anxieties, culturally and historically and geopolitically bring to the mix, you start noticing into the 70s again, kind of a return to a lot of like violence and evisceration with our monsters, and particularly in shredding through. You have Vietnam again. Think of how many times just our when we were constantly. When are we not at war? When has the country not been at war? Yeah, that's the answer. In some foreign adventure, but
I think there was about 2 weeks in 2014.
But again, it's this idea though and again, remember, this is Vietnam becomes the first war where we're starting to see bodies. We're seeing it's the first fully televised war, right? And we're starting to see the destruction of the human body. And I think it's by no sheer coincidence that like Jaws, things like this, where it becomes the evisceration and dissection of human bodies, or even translating into the thing of like early body horror of the 80s. Is reflecting those principles.
Well, and this is where we got not just the body horror, but the practical effects just started ramping up.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
And we'll discuss that a bit here. Back to Rick Baker. He actually got really angry and quit the business because CGI happened. But
And he was right.
he is absolutely right. But Spielberg and a broken shark made a film. See, it wouldn't even attack him. And H.R.
Very
Giger.
good holiday horror movie, that.
Oh, absolutely.
one of the best holiday horror films. Thank you.
And then we have Mr. Giger over here, who designed one of the strangest of all the creatures, the alien, xenomorph.
Yep. Think about our monsters too. Just bringing up Jaws again because we can't ever let it go. But one thing we would like to point out here that I love about Jaws as a monster, Brian, and you were mentioning it, or it might have been on Bracco, about the idea of like the taboo that even when we depict the monstrous within our cultural zeitgeist. There's a certain taboo that they typically don't cross, and that is hurting children or hurting animals. Jaws is the GOAT.
That was
This
the first
mofo
one.
takes out a dog and a kid right in the beginning.
Art
and
the
gives
Clown
no
can have the
fucks about
silver.
it. That's why Jaws is the best of the monsters.
Exactly. All right.
A slasher, even.
Modern monsters. And it's become a mix-up at this point.
Yeah. This is a wide tent to stretch for us to go over some.
And I think we should add some of the directors to the list of modern monsters on this slide.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Hey, asshole.
exactly. Yeah, Mr. Creepers.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Wow, you really hate E.T., man.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, we've really badmouthed him a lot this year.
But I love the inclusion of Bong Joon-ho, one of the great auteurs. Love him to death, and I love his monster take with the host. Great
Something
film.
that I'm starting to see is the comeback of the kaiju.
Yes,
We are
yes.
really seeing a lot of giant monsters.
And occasionally they do it well.
In fact, I'll let Jack
very well.
talk about an amazing one that we just watched.
Oh, do you talk about the one on Friday night?
Yeah.
For Friday Night Weird? Brush Up the God. That was fantastic. Yes, it basically would be like your high school AV club decided to make a giant monster movie, but like make it a teen romance on top.
Well,
And filmed with a soap opera filter. And if that hasn't sold you,
well,
yet,
you know, it was interesting because the
it's marvelous.
film was about a kaiju sculptor
yes,
who had died, and it was kind of his granddaughter
right.
who
never really
who
knew
never
him.
really knew him, learning
Through
by
his work,
by
yeah.
accidentally getting teleported to where they live. But it turns out that it was created, the film,
Yes.
by a guy that was a kaiju creator.
He did all of these work
He
on
was
these movies, and at
88
the age of 88
88
years old, decided to be a first-time director, and that is beautiful.
I think I
for him.
Googled the wrong Flesh of the Gods.
Brush.
Brush. Oh, okay.
That's your error.
Got it.
That's your
Because
error.
this one is like
Don't add this to the syllabus.
Well-
any of this.
Elizabeth Olsen and Oscar Isaac kind of recreating The Hunger meets Eyes Wide Shut. Watch
Also
later.
monstrous.
I need to see that. But it was interesting because we are seeing the resurgence of giant monsters.
And that screening was really well attended.
It was.
People loved it. Yeah, what's an homage to that? And I think Brian's right. I think there's such a nostalgia. I mean, with the newest, with the latest, the better Godzilla incarnation that came out.
Oh,
You know the one?
there's several answers.
Minus one.
Minus one. Okay.
Yeah. Which is the definitive, I would argue, Godzilla movie. I mean, it was made with such heart and passion, and
Other
Great.
than maybe the.
Thought you were talking about versus Kong the New Empire for a second there. Like, no.
no,
Okay,
never.
okay, Jack, I did that for you.
Oh, see, you know me so well.
Yep.
Like a married old couple.
And actually, the production company that did that is doing another one.
Yes.
They just started
Another
filming.
one of.
Another one of this
This direct
series.
sequel to this.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's right. That's the first time Godzilla's won an Academy Award. At what age? Showing it can happen to anyone.
Exactly.
It's never too late to start your dreams.
So, where are we headed in the future? The monster has become something unseeable. We're all terrified of AI at this point.
Yeah, right. Again, reflecting anxiety's fears immediately is Alexa, right? This is what we're all afraid of now.
Do you know how many times I say something close to the word Siri and my phone lights up?
Just lights up to remind
It's
you.
listening a lot.
Do you know how afraid I am of having to watch Megan 2.0 again?
Don't.
Oh,
That's a betrayal to everything that Megan was.
Don't worry, they're working. What? There is
No comment. I
Should have
don't-
learned.
there
her
is a new version. It's a adult robot.
You got Rocco excited.
Oh no. I mean that in every possible way. But it's from the creators of Megan, and she is a companion robot.
yo, so there was one that came out. I think was it called Companion? The one with
Yeah, which we had. Which
That was
yeah.
good.
That was really good.
That was really good.
The scene, has anyone spoiled?
The very recent.
There is a
Yeah,
very
Bryan.
great scene where the German language is used to hilarious effect. I'll leave it at that.
I've just decided to become part of the panel. I just wanted to have
Shoot.
a suggestion of a film. It's a little difficult to find, but it's a, I believe, Scandinavian film called The Trouble with Being Born.
Oh my! I was just about to talk about that. That's a difficult sell.
Yeah, not a horror movie, but when talking about the idea of an adult robot, this really delves into the fear of AI, what it can be used for, and the dark things that lurk within people.
You can't just leave it at that. So the idea of the film is that in the very near future, in order to try to come up with a solution for pedophilia, they create childlike sex doll robots, which then would not cross the line, right, legally. As horrible as that is, but then it turns into this beautiful film about one of these child robots that kind of escapes the conditions that they live in and tries to search for the identity of what makes someone both a woman and human. And it's a marvelous film, but you know where you never get past is that tag is kind of the descriptive that when you go to the festivals. Hear me out. We have a child sex. No.
Thing is that it is this particular robot that you're seeing, like, part of the fantasy of her owner is that he is telling her these stories that basically imply she was kidnapped. And so it also, like, even though this did not start out as a person, if you teach someone that they're a victim, like, it almost also gives her this impetus to have agency, to want to run away and break free. And so
it's a marvelous film, but it's very darkly themed. But I think it feeds into this.
Okay, you want to see me split the crowd here?
Okay, if we haven't
After
already,
that?
all right. If this didn't do it,
So that is
Yeah, we've got child sex robots. Now we're gonna split the crowd.
Here's the divisive part, people.
actually, and
we're never being asked
and the
back.
part I'm
Ever
going,
again.
the part I'm going to is that's the good part. That's the way to do it properly. That's the way to show robots and how it should work. You know how you don't do it? Alien Earth. That's how
You have a grudge
Don't
against
do. I have
Alien
a
Earth.
grudge against that thing, but I mean, it really is. It doesn't need to have what it does, and it's kind of the opposite.
Letting you finish.
No, go ahead.
So if you follow this man on Facebook, he's generally very, very positive. Like, oh, I saw this movie. It was fun. Go see it. You know, like, oh,
that's true.
We're going to see, we're all going to a long walk tonight. It's a good time. Take a picture. I wake up one morning. I make my coffee. I'm sitting in my kitchen waiting for my toast to toast, and I'm just scrolling. And I see Bryan's put out a 10,000-word
manifesto, some might call it.
on how Alien Earth is responsible for all the ills of the modern world
Presumably typed in a cabin in Wyoming.
after only 2 episodes.
If you don't have that kind of passion, you don't belong here. That's what I'm saying. Yes,
Y'all laugh, but he's not lying.
So I need the name of that movie with the child robots because I'm a professional counselor and I will not type that.
Oh my goodness! I think it is absolute. No, but that's.
We'll write it down on
also,
nice,
I think it is
untraceable
something
paper for you.
That would be profoundly great. The trouble with being born, and also the trouble with getting it on distribution, is hard. It hit the festival circuit where it won a lot of awards because it is a marvelous film.
please come talk to me about it next year, because I would love to hear someone else's take on this.
Well, and because of the nature of what I do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think it's an
see a
important
lot
film
of
for you to
this
say. Yeah, no, it's-
happen. I work with a lot of clients who've experienced these kinds of things, and that is like the AI portion of this is scaring the shit out of me as a therapist right now.
Yeah.
I literally just got an email from one of my groups this morning that I work for that is like, and I've been talking about this for months. So can I just make a PSA?
Please do. Please do.
Mental health. Okay, please don't be using AI and ChatGPT for therapy. Like
We've already seen suicides.
Already, and I have been monitoring this for I don't know, 2 years maybe, and the last year I've been talking to people about there are significant dangers in here because the AI model is to validate every single thing that you think and say and to build that up as being a positive. That's how we lost a kid to
Right.
suicide, who it literally validated and said all these things, and I've been screaming to other professionals in my group, and they're like, oh, nobody's using AI for therapy.
Oh my God.
And I was like, excuse me, are you living on another planet right now? Pay attention.
And especially in the only major country that does not devote the resources to mental health. Of course,
Right.
people are going to use to whatever free option they can get.
But it starts by using it as a companion.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. But your companion then becomes a very sort of codependent, almost narcissistic, very borderline-y connection of, okay, I'm going to tell you all the wonderful things about the things that you're thinking, even if they're cognitive distortions, even if they're very traumatic things of, oh, this thing happened to me and I'm feeling really bad about myself and I want to do A, B, and C. The bot's going to be like, oh yeah, those are good choices. Like, just keep going. No, fuck, I'm so sorry, but like, this is the one, and I literally just got an email this morning from my boss who's like, hey, it looks like we should probably start paying attention to AI.
Oh, really?
I've been talking to you about this for a full year,
Oh my God.
warning you,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what I have seen is that I used to, like Friday afternoons, I would get at least 10 requests for therapy over the weekend, and people wait until Friday, they're like, oh, it's another shit weekend by myself, I'm lonely, I'm isolated, my
Sure,
symptoms
sure.
are bad, I don't have anything to do, and that has dropped off. Like in the past 6 months, and it's not because I'm a shitty therapist. I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm pretty good at my job. But people are not reaching out for those resources because they're going to AI.
Yeah.
And we can't have it. It scares me so much.
Well, I mean, you're speaking. Well, first of all, thank you for what you do. It's very important. But I think it also speaks to when you talk about like what is the future, what are our current anxieties that relate to what's going to be the monstrous as depicted in film. Technology, and an unchecked technology, and the potentiality for how that could be abused. Although that's always been kind of a current.
I was
theme
to say,
of
even going back to your World War I
Goes back to
example,
that, yes,
it's
like,
been
right,
that's
to-
been kind
to
of
the-
the root of it.
Yes,
Well, and at the core of this, what's driving this is this deep isolation and loneliness that is so ironic because we have more connectivity than we've ever had possible. And yet people are suffering from a loneliness epidemic. And whether or not you agree that the pandemic was traumatic, yes it was, and it got people stuck into their little sort of corners and changed the world and changed their access to socializing. And socialization, and so those things for especially younger generations. I have a 16-year-old son. He did not do well during that.
Sure, no, it's profoundly, yeah.
Isolated. So I think that the intersection between we have all the connectivity, but yet we're using it for these wrong purposes that are not serving us individually and not truly connecting us to others.
Well, even your point when talking about, the global pandemic that happened, again, we're seeing how all of these things, whether it is a massive world war, look at the commonality thematically here, of worldwide events that caused mass anxiety. And of course, that's going to be depicted in our monsters. One last thing I would like to say, too, though, is that
Actually, I'm going to throw something. I'll go ahead with that first.
Is that also, in addition, I would say it's not only, I think we see that trend of technology as the new monster, we've also seen it noting back to how we're reinventing the Universal films again. The canon is coming back out to reintroduce the Universal films, but done very differently, right? This is now where it's the human as monster, us as the monster, right? So we've had just very interesting ideas because we're not going to be scared anymore just about the invisible man, right? That's not scary. But if you suddenly talk about its idea about gaslighting and violence against women as a fresh perspective on it, now that is something to say about it. So I don't know how successful. I don't think the Wolfman was a very
I
successful.
like what they were trying to do, but I don't think the execution.
Yeah, I don't think it landed whatsoever, but I am going to see, interestingly enough, if we're going to have a revert back to the idea of the monstrous more as just like black and white, evil creature, not us, the foreigner, the other. Certain geopolitical tracks could take us there, and we might be in that moment now. Or if we revert back more to investigating the idea of humans as we are the monsters, as Bryan said, and exploring more of that theme, more psychological horror with our monsters.
And one more shameless plug, so I'm just going to re-say it. Please don't use ChatGPT as any kind of aid model for your personal therapy problems that are deep, that are just not more, that are more chronic and more pervasive. The other thing is that for decades now in the research of psychology and psychotherapy, the #1 indicator of successful therapy and healing is not the interventions, it's not the therapist, it's the relationship the person builds with the therapist.
So that's all right. That's great.
Okay, and one last shameless plug.
Buy our books.
Buy our book.
Oh, but also like find us out there if you ever, and God knows we probably ruined it, but if you can now stomach listening to this group talk, we're together in a number of different podcasts. Do You Like Scary Movies podcast is wonderful that these guys do. About horror films, we do one on They Did It, a conspiracy podcast that Bryan and I do, where we take on go down the rabbit holes of what constitutes conspiratorial thoughts and apply a little bit of Occam's razor to it.
We have Bob's publishing company here, Polymath Press.
Yep.
Polymathpress.com will get you there. But for those of you who are here, we got all the books here. So
I think you brought them in the back here.
Exactly.
they're actually.
You could go Oprah style.
It makes it as easy for you to give him as money as possible.
And
But also, one of our sponsors, Friday Night Weird, which is from Boulder. If you ever get your way to Boulder, the Bodecker Theater at the Dairy Arts Center is the only independent art house theater. And now more than ever, you need to support your local art house independent cinemas. They're not going to just be on the constant monolithic loop of commercialization of showing the latest Marvel movie because Paramount and the Mouse own something that's going to dominate every theater. Yep. If you want to see great cinema like we were going to just about to tragically introduce you to, go see it at places like this. And Friday Night Weird, Shay curates that program. It is a late night cult film program. It's a type of place we can gather with community, ties people like this, get some drinks, and go watch like a double feature of Lady Snowblood and like a Godzilla movie, and it's marvelous.
unfortunately, you get to listen to me and Jack do talkbacks quite
Occasionally, we'll also be there to ruin it after.
And then if you want to hear us talk more at this convention at 2 o'clock over in the panel room, Jack, Shay, and I are doing a talk on Monster as Metaphor, and if we can convince anyone else to join us, they might be there too.
And then the wrap-up.
And then at 4 o'clock, all of us are going to do our annual wrap-up panel where we drink
drunkenly
even
tell
more
each other.
and talk about our favorite movies of the past year.
The idea behind the panel originally every year was for us to have a review of this great convention, talk about the highs and lows, possibly introduce some great things in the whole genre of horror, underrated, overrated, things like that. What it has now turned into is a collection of petty grievances, long-standing arguments not settled from years past.
Long Legs was awesome. I will hear no rebuttals.
Fucking Osgood Perkins, motherfucker.
Did you see the monkey, though?
Yeah, oh yes, it made it just slightly
Hilarious.
less palpable.
So that was your preview of the 4 o'clock session.
All of that gets
That
carried
with
over.
more alcohol.
If you love horror and having the worst people in your life argue and watching it, think of like that scene in The Bear with the family dinner in the show The Bear. That's what this is. But with
I have a
horror.
very different The
With
Bear
horror.
in my catalog.
We invite you to come. It's marvelous. It's a lot of fun.
So we should give this up for the next thing.
Let's do it.
All right.
We thank you for coming. Oh my God, this type of panel.
Thank you all so much.
This early, you're amazing. Thank you so much.